When Five Guys opened its doors in 1986, you wouldn't spend more than $2 for a burger, but you wouldn't get it delivered either, no matter how high your military rank was. When Five Guys opened its first store in Arlington, Virginia, it was almost as if it didn't want people to notice. Not only did it not advertise, but its launch was also quieter than the sizzling of a burger. The store was in a corner of the rundown Westmont shopping center. Turns out, it was the only place that would lease space to them. As founder, Jerry Morrell told Arlington Now, "We were brand new, without any restaurant experience, selling burgers and fries." But Morrell also wanted a less conspicuous place. He said, "We liked that it was tucked back and hard to get to. We knew that if we could survive and grow there, then we might really have something. And because it was in the middle of nowhere, it was relatively inexpensive." The first store was a roaring hit, but today there's no way to visit it. In 2019, Westmont Shopping Center was demolished to be redeveloped into an apartment building. At Five Guys, the decor is so basic that the only things that probably stand out for customers are the sacks of potatoes laid out on the floors, and the staff crafting burgers in the chain's open kitchens. The first store, Jerry Morrell told NPR, didn't even have chairs and tables for customers to sit and eat. It was a cramped stand-up-only place. He had bought the place for a mere $35,000 and assembled all the equipment from junk. To compare, close to $150,000 was raised to set up the second store, Morrell told NPR. The second store also had no seating. It wasn't until the early 2000s that the chain decided to allow people to dine in. The first Five Guys store sold 2 items, burgers and fries. Why? Those were the only 2 things that Jerry Morrell knew how to cook, as he told NPR. But it wasn't just his limited culinary skills that pushed him to create the minimalist eatery. He was intrigued by how Thrasher's French fries attracted a beeline of customers when there were about 20 or so other shops selling fries on the Ocean City boardwalk. He was also inspired by an entrepreneur in his hometown in Michigan who ran a successful business selling nothing but hamburgers. Thrasher's and the Michigan hamburger seller gave Morrell the idea to start a business concept that would combine burgers and fries. And since Thrasher's was the gold standard for fries, Morrell decided to copy it. He and his sons went to Ocean City to take a peek at the potato bags in the store and noticed that the spuds had come from Rigby, Idaho. So Morrell contracted with a potato dealer in Rigby to deliver the same type of potatoes that Thrasher's used. Jerry's son Chad told Food Republic that in the early years they would soak the hand-cut potatoes for almost 2 hours to get the starch out before frying them. Now it's a 3-minute power wash. Finding it hard to put a finger on what exactly it is that has you going back for another Five Guys burger? There is a good chance it's the soft cake-like buns. While today the chain makes its own buns, it originally bought them from Brenner's Bakery, a popular bakery in Northern Virginia at the time. Jerry Morrell told Arlington Now that he and his wife Janie had been Brenner's customers for a long time, and said, "They baked what we considered to be the best bread, which was high quality and expensive. If you find Five Guys buns slightly on the sweeter side, it's probably because Brenner's made them that way." The Five Guys, and especially Janie, loved it. So when the bakery, which had been operating since 1946, closed in 2004, Jerry did what he had to do to maintain the quality of Five Guys burgers. He hired 2 of the bakers who worked at Brenner's and started making the rolls in-house. You couldn't have escaped the wait at Five Guys even if you showed up at the very first location on the very first day. Well, not entirely. If you had gone there the first half hour it opened, you could have simply sashayed your way to the counter to customize your burger. As Jerry Morrell told Arlington Now, "We opened at 11 a.m., and no one came in until 11:30. That was a stressful half hour. But unless you were the first person in, you would have had to go through the grueling wait." Morrell told NPR, "By 12:30 we were almost packed. I made money from the very first day." If you were to stop by Five Guys as frequently as Warren Buffett goes to McDonald's, you would have a pretty slim wallet. A hamburger from Five Guys today is $6.99, while you'd only have to spend $1.99 for a McDonald's hamburger. Funny enough, the price of a McDonald's hamburger today is around the same as that of a Five Guys hamburger in 1986. $1.79. That was pretty expensive for a burger at the time. While there are many reasons for the price difference, a significant one is that Five Guys only uses fresh ingredients. No frozen products whatsoever. Not even the beef. McDonald's has no such rules. Its burgers, with the exception of the Quarter Pounder, are all made with frozen patties. Five Guys never had a money-saving mindset. Jerry Morrell told the Washington Business Journal, "We never worried about the cost of supplies. I told my sons, don't ever save money on the food. The expensive ingredients added up to a burger that cost 4 times as much as McDonald's, Morel told NPR. Five Guys knew that it was pricey, but it stood by its high menu prices. Morel told NPR that the kids were given free rein to choose the toppings that went into a Five Guys burger. This meant that if they wanted the most expensive pickles in the supermarket to jazz up their burgers, that's what every customer also got, even if that meant higher menu prices. He said, "Jeannie and I would not tell the kids how much we were paying for the product." If you had visited the first Five Guys store, there's a good chance you would have seen Jerry Morel and his first 4 sons working in the store. After all, there were only 2 workers who were non-family at the time. Today, Five Guys employs about 5,000 to 10,000 employees across its 1,500 locations. At the first store, Morel's wife Janie kept the books, and he and the kids took care of everything else from cooking to cleaning. Morel told NPR it was the kids who approached the investors and came up with the menu items, saying, "If it wasn't for them and my wife, there would be no Five Guys. I didn't build Five Guys." Luckily for Morel, all 5 boys decided that they would rather join the family business than go to college. Morel was okay either way, as long as they had fun. The sage advice he gave his kids? Pick something you like to do in the business. A midweek slump is enough for some of us to order a juicy bacon cheeseburger and fries without a second thought. And with the magic of delivery apps or Five Guys' own delivery service, you'll be noshing on your grub just a few minutes after you wished for it. Things were a lot different at Five Guys in the 80s. The first store did not offer delivery, even if the request came in from the Pentagon. As founder Jerry Morel recalled to Inc., "When we first opened, the Pentagon called and said, 'We want 15 hamburgers. What time can you deliver?' I said, 'What time can you pick them up? We don't deliver.' After that, just to make it clear to everyone, including the Pentagon, the store hung a 22-foot-long banner with the words, 'Absolutely no delivery' on the storefront. Ironically, ever since, said Morel, our business from the Pentagon picked up." Few knew the satisfaction of washing down a Five Guys burger with a milkshake when the first store opened. Why? Because the milkshakes and their 10 mix-ins were introduced as recently as 2014, about 28 years after the first store opened. Today, the restaurant offers hand-spun super thick milkshakes with the option to add mix-ins in 40,000 plus combinations. But in the first year of Five Guys, the milkshake was nowhere close to becoming part of the menu. Jerry Morel did not like the idea of having anything frozen in the restaurant. In fact, he told Inc. in a 2010 interview, "If we put one frozen thing in our restaurant, we'd be done. That's why we won't do milkshakes. For years, people have been asking for them, but we'd have to do real ice cream and real milk." Yet another reason why he didn't want to expand Five Guys' menu to include milkshakes was that if he did, he told Forbes, it might lead the chain to stray away from its main focus, burgers and fries. Reflecting on the decline in franchises like Boston Market, he noted, "They all started to offer too many items and got away from their core."